Hi, this is Matt with Engine 7 Media, and we hope you watched part one of Chad's story, where we heard him talk about his time as a firefighter and a police officer. He spoke openly about his struggles with work-related mental health issues, and in this final part of our interview, Chad is going to talk to us about his current role with the Tennessee Department of Health and their proactive approach in dealing with mental health issues among firefighters, EMS, and law enforcement personnel, and others that are involved with emergency services.
I'm blessed to be working for the Tennessee Department of Health. Really, truly am blessed because I can talk to any of my staff. Melissa Taylor, she's our nurse consultant here that works in our department with us, and Melissa is just a public health champion. And a few years ago, she lives with depression and herself. And she noticed that there was nothing being done because Melissa, if no one knows Melissa, her husband's David Taylor. He's a fire chief out of Avoca Volunteer Fire Department in Sullivan County. And Melissa, she grew up in the Kingsport life-saving crew, and she's been a nurse for 30 or 40 years, and she's done first responder work. And she really realized over the past couple of years that there's really not a whole lot being done for first responders, and that includes the dispatcher, the firefighter, the EMS worker, the law enforcement officer, and then it ended up being our frontline healthcare too, and our public health staff during COVID. And she came to me one day and said, "There's just nothing being done." And we both knew we both had issues going on as far as mental health. And she found this program that's provided through the National Council for Mental Well-Being called Mental Health First Aid. And so she came to me and said, "Hey, can I pursue this?" And I said, "Absolutely." So we work with what we call the Northeast Tennessee Healthcare Preparedness Coalition. And that's a group of healthcare professionals. It's led by Ballad Health and also includes any healthcare provider. So it could be long-term care, skilled nursing, dialysis centers, of course, Ballad. And we get grant funding from the federal government to promote emergency preparedness in our healthcare settings and in our community. So she decided that she wanted to host a adult mental health train the trainer course. And the Northeast Tennessee Healthcare Preparedness Coalition, they paid for the course. It was a very expensive course. It's $30,000, but it was well worth it. And we were able to put, I think, about 30 people through the course the first time. So I was, myself and her, and amongst many others, were the first people in the state that, and public health, that took that course, and then we started teaching it. And the courses basically fills that gap that I never received any mental health first aid training when I was in rookie school. I went to rookie school for the fire service in '96, law enforcement in 2002, didn't have anything. And I know I talked to EMS and EMTs and paramedics. They say there's very little in their schooling. Talked to nurses and doctors, very little, and so there's just not a lot of that around. So as of today, I don't know the exact number of people that we've taught, but we have really broken a lot of barriers in the stigma around mental health. And Greene County Sheriff's Office and Sullivan County Sheriff's Office are two entities right now that I am so impressed with their leadership, because we have recently we trained all of the correctional officers, again, Greene County Sheriff's Office, and we have trained all of Sullivan County's correctional officers, because those correctional officers, they're in a jail with people that have mental illness. A lot of the people out here that law enforcement encounters, or even you encounter when you're running medical calls or EMS, there's not a lot of availability of mental health beds available in our region, and mental health providers are really spread thin. So a lot of these people end up in law enforcement custody and incarcerated. So we've been doing a lot of training with law enforcement and correctional officers, and Tuesday I went and taught mental health first aid for EMS providers. This has really taken off, and it's helped me. It's kind of a therapy. Before mental health first aid, I would never have told you that I lived with depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, or post-traumatic stress. I was ashamed of it because of the stigma that that I saw, that I experienced. So that's what I do here, though. My main job is medical countermeasure dispensing. So during COVID, we had a huge role in that. But our agency as a whole, public health is everything. Your physical health. If you don't have good physical health, you're probably not going to have good mental health. If you don't have good mental health, you're probably not going to have good physical health. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Five days ago, you weren't on our radar at all. What changed that?
I saw a posting on Facebook. It was Sunday, and I don't know, I check my Facebook page a couple times a day, and I seen someone had shared, I don't know if it was Sam or someone had shared your all's, I guess, YouTube channel, and I watched Sam's story, and I texted him. I didn't know if he was home or at work. We talk every now and again, but we kind of have lost touch over the past few months. And matter of fact, last time Sam called me, he told me how good a job we were doing at public health. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We do. But anyways, so I texted him. I said, if you're free, give me a call, and he did. And then after he told me what y'all was trying to do, or what you are doing, not trying to do, you are doing, I'm just floored, because the only other group that I've ever seen do this is a group of people, and I'm not really sure where they're out of, but it's called OC 87 Diaries, and they don't just focus on first responders like you all are focusing. They focus on, they do have some first responder stories, but this is going to be so impactful, because I hope that from listening to Sam's story to listening to David Harrison, who had just retired recently, and it's not about me either. So I always tell the people that it's not about me. It's about that person that's watching this, that is going through something that they think that there's nobody else that's going through that, because they never were taught any better. And when I first started having my trouble with mental illness, I thought that I was the only person in the world, and maybe that's kind of selfish thinking, but I thought I was the only person in the world that's going through that. And then when you start having that hopeless feeling, when you don't know what else to do, that's when it gets dangerous for somebody that's having mental illness.
Yeah. And that's the one message that I think is really important, is that it's a treatable condition, post-traumatic stress, and it's a normal condition because of some of the stuff we run. But you can't let that condition get away from you to where you start using it as an excuse. That's when you really go down a really bad road.
Yeah, you can. And the other thing is, people that are living with a mental illness right now, there's really not a mental illness that I can think of other than dementia or Alzheimer's, and even those could be treated somewhat, that is not treatable. And I don't care if you're a police officer, a firefighter, emergency EMS, paramedic, dispatcher. You can work while receiving psychiatric care. That could either be talking to a psychologist, talking to a therapist, or even under care of a psychiatrist, and while taking medication, as long as it's not medication that's going to make you tired to where you're where you can't do your job. And there's really no medication out there that I'm aware of. So I've worked as a police officer with medication, and medication is not a mind-altering thing. The reason that I may experience depression or bipolar disorder, maybe because of a chemical imbalance in my brain, and the medicine, it turns that condition around. So people that think that medication alters your mind, well, it may do that, but it does it in a way that you can become a productive part of society. So, but medication's not the answer, okay? It's just part of a treatment program. When I started having my really serious problems with depression and anxiety and post-traumatic stress in 2003, I thought I was the only person that was feeling that. And for those of you that are watching this, that's far from the truth. There's people that are willing to sit down with you if you have an EAP program and you are afraid to make that first phone call. Call me. You can call me, and I'll be glad to come over to your house and sit down with you, and while you make that call to your employee assistance program to try to find a provider, or try to find that person in your life that you can talk to, and don't not get treatment because you don't know how to get treatment. Okay, there's plenty of opportunities out there, and that's the main thing I want people to know is don't just not get treatment because you don't know how to do it. Become literate about your mental health, about your physical health, and when I say literate, health literacy. Be literate about your health.